Hello, my name is Phil Craven and I am the station chaplain at the Defence Academy. Our reading today is found in John's Gospel, chapter 19, verses 25 through 27. Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother there, and the disciple whom he loved standing nearby, he said to her, "Woman, here is your son." And to the disciple, "Here is your mother." From that time on, the disciple took her into his home. Amen. I grew up in a small village in the west coast of Scotland. The good thing about small villages is that everyone knows everything. The bad news about small villages is that everyone knows everything. Things were so small that if I ever did anything that wasn't entirely correct, the likes of not waiting for the green man before I crossed the road, or chewing gum with my mouth open, and any other such horrendous thing, as soon as I got back to my house, my mum would be there waiting, and she would say, "Anything you want to tell me?" And then I would know she knows. Everyone knows everything, particularly mothers. In that regard, Jesus' mother Mary was no different. Mothering Sunday can often be a difficult time for many people. It can either remind us that our mothers are no longer here. It can remind us of broken relationships within our own family, or it can remind us that we don't have children of our own. Mothering Sunday is not always a happy time, and we might have different emotions today. Mary knew what it was like to have a complicated relationship with her family, and especially with her son. I said at the start that mothers traditionally know everything, and this is true of Mary. When you think about it, Mary knew from the beginning that her son was going to die. After Jesus was born, Mary took her son to the temple to be blessed, as was the Jewish custom. And there she met Simeon and Anna, two old prophets. Simeon took the young Jesus in his arms and prophesied that Jesus would heal the nations. But he also said to Mary that a sword will pierce your own soul. Mary knew that her heart would be broken, and she knew that her son would die. 33 years later, Jesus hung on a cross alongside some criminals. And as he looked down from the cross, he would have seen a little group of faithful women and the Apostle John. And then he saw his own mother. As mother and son shared a glance through the pain, you can almost imagine the memories of tenderness playing out in slow motion in their minds. Mary cradling him in her arms, telling him stories of angels and archangels, shepherds and kings that visited his manger, teaching him the biblical stories of the patriarchs, the kings, the prophets, and sharing with him the plans and purposes of God. Yes, there were times when Mary knew it all, as mothers do. The time when she told Jesus to get his act together and solve the problem of the wine at the wedding in Cana. Or the time when Mary and her other sons were outside a house summoning Jesus to come and see them rather than teaching the crowds about the kingdom. What was she like? It's hard to say what was conveyed in that glance between a mother and her son. But what we do know is that Jesus thought not of his pain, but hers. Even in his agony and his torment, he still thought of those around him, those he came to save. And so we have a very beautiful but unusual moment when Jesus looks at his mother and the Apostle John and says to his mother, "Here is your son." And then to John he says, "Here is your mother." On the surface, this just looks like a tender moment from a son wishing to ensure his mother was provided for in a society where widows struggled to make ends meet. But it is about more than that, and it shows the depth of Jesus' care for his mother. On the cross, Jesus begins to use some legal Jewish language. The fancy title is a testamentary disposition. What that is a transfer of something to someone through a will. Jesus was giving his final will from the cross. He had no possessions of his own. He didn't have any money or property. The only thing he had to pass on was the care of his mother. And so Jesus makes a legal proclamation from the cross that his sonship of Mary was now passed to John. Mary was now under John's protection and care, and John was under Mary's. And then we read, from that time on, the disciple took her into his home. Immediately John took her away to protect her. Jesus wanted to spare his mother from watching his brutal death, so John took her away. Dame Cicely Saunders is the founder of the modern hospice movement, and she's famous for saying this: the way people die remains in the memory of those who live. Jesus knew this, and he wanted to spare his mother this pain, this memory. Is that not quite remarkable that Jesus thought of her and not himself? In fact, it wasn't just Mary that Jesus thought about on the cross. In spite of the pain and the shame as he hung on the cross, he prayed for forgiveness for his enemies that had put him there in the first place. And he prayed, "They know not what they have done." He then promised paradise to a criminal hanging beside him, saying, "I tell you that today you shall be with me in paradise." And then he goes on, as we've heard, to provide for his bereaved mother. Surely this is the marker of true love, that even at great personal cost, great personal pain, great personal loss, Jesus still thought of others before himself. The challenge for us is to be more and more like Jesus each and every day, even through the pressures of life. For even under the greatest of pressures, Jesus still forgave, still blessed, and still loved. What an example, and what a challenge to us in life and in faith. Amen.